with a snake in its claws on top of a cactus. They found that. They built their huge civilization in this mosquito-infested swamp. It just so happens that from 2012 to the founding date of Tenochtitlan of the Aztec is exactly how many Martian days it takes to make their year. 687 Earth days makes a Martian year. There's actually commonality between the Mayan calendar and this motif, which is part of our national seal. There's two parts to the official national United States seal. This one side, which is on our dollar bill, very, very common. You take it for granted because you see it almost every day. You see here 13 courses of masonry. And it's kind of rudely drawn in here, but that's 12, that's 13. The Mayan calendar employs two major counts of years. One's called the long count, and the long count is broken into back tunes, which are 20 sections, and then those are broken even further small portions called catuns. A catun is 19.7 years, and if you take the 13 courses of masonry, jumping the gun, starting here, there's 19.7 years from 1756 to 1776, 19.7, 19.7, 19.7, until you end at the last point here, 2012. That's when they expect their feathered serpent god, Quetzalcoatl, or in Maya, Kukulkan, to return. Now, jumping to the west and jumping to far more ancient civilization, at least in the Aztec, would even be the Hellenistic Empire and then the Roman Empire, where the Apostle John wrote the Apocalypse, or the Revelation. Apocalypse in Greek means basically the same thing, to reveal something, but there's nothing more enigmatic or cryptic about the symbology in Revelation. And there's a lot of interpretation. It depends on what moral alignment you come from, and of course the denomination you come from, or tradition. But I suggest that there's something connected to this idea of the feathered serpent, not just in a deity that supposedly will return, and that has something to do with humanity learning civilization, or being taught civilization, but the timeline itself. And that's because the greatest, the largest constellation in our northern hemisphere is this, Draconis. And it just happens to occupy where the axis, as in precession, as it moves, our northern axis points in a circle which traces right around Draconis. And if you look at Revelation 12, it actually says that the tail of this dragon in Revelation draws a third part of the stars of heaven. There's a third, again, the motif. If you have 100% of something, you have 33.33% of it. But this dragon draws a third of the portion of stars from the heaven. Now, how can that be? I mean, most of the stars that you can perceive in the night sky have many times the stellar mass of our sun, so you can't literally have those coming to the earth. And it's been interpreted metaphorically as, okay, if this dragon represents Satan, then there's he has a hierarchical authority over a third of the angels, then he actually causes them to be submissive to him on the earth. However, those words in the actual phrase about the third part of the stars in Greek, the tail in Greek, heaven itself, they're all from the same root. Hora, horao, ora, oranos. They're all about time. It's always about a cycle of time. It fits right back into the idea of the Ouroboros eating its tail, or the galaxy of our Milky Way aligning with the horizon of the earth. So 33% of a circle is a third of it. And if you take the precession of 25,920 years and divide it in 3 parts, you get that number, 8,640 years. So that is how many years it will take to move 1/3 of the precessional circuit. And lo and behold, that 1/3 of the precessional circuit fits the tail of Draconis, because this is the actual place where our northern axis will point during that duration of roughly 26,000 years. If you go back 8,640 years, you're about right here, 1/3 at the end, where the tail ends. So here's Draco in Celestial Atlas. Here's the third of precession, marked over it in the northern hemisphere. Amazingly, using our Gregorian calendar, which Greek Gregory or Gregori actually means to watch. So it's literally, after Pope Gregory, the watcher calendar, which is anchored at the birth of Christ. So when you write Anno Domini, you're saying, in the year of our Lord, you're witnessing to the birth of God in the flesh. Here, you can see at his resurrection point, according to this calendar, there's some debate over if he was born in 2 AD or 2 BC or some point of that. On this calendar, on the Watcher calendar, his resurrection occurred at 33 AD when he was 33 years old, and he was born at, of course, 1. Go backwards. If you're anchoring this third of time at 2012, 2013, you'll have 60 times 33 years from 33 AD to 2013, 2012, which is 1980 years. And from 33 all the way to the end of the 8,640 year cycle, 6,660 years, which is another number that shows prominently in Revelation. Here's another graph, a model for you to understand this. It goes back, anchored at 33 to 2013, 60 times 33. That's how many years it's from 33 AD, and 6,660 years back to 6,627 BC. That's a perfect third of precession. I was asked what probably happened here at 6,627 BC, and basically the birth of written history. Now notice the fall equinox. When you go back to the birth of our modern calendar, the birth of Christ, at 1 AD, the sun would have rose at the autumn equinox at the feet of Virgo. When Tenochtitlan was founded, the Mexican capital in Mexico City now, you're pretty much in the center of Virgo. This number here was when Kepler actually drew these lines. So when you get to the fall equinox in 2012, the sun is now bisecting Virgo and Leo. And I have to emphasize the extreme antiquity of these symbols. They've been around since civilization has been around. So I think it's valid to use them in a projection of what's going to happen in the future.